You know that coworker who never complains, never asks for help, and somehow always knows exactly what to do when everything falls apart. Or that parent who raised you, worked 2 jobs, never once asked for a thank you, and still found a way to show up? Yeah, that's not just a personality type. That's an entire generation, and somehow, we forgot to talk about them. Generation X. Born between 1965 and 1980. Sandwiched between the boomers everyone criticizes and the millennials everyone analyzes. Invisible by design. And here's what nobody wants to say out loud. Their psychology might be the most fascinating of any generation alive. Let's start with the thing that shaped everything. They came home alone. Not occasionally. Regularly. Picture this. It's 1978. You're 8 years old. The school bus drops you off. You walk to your front door. Pull out the key hanging from a shoelace around your neck. And let yourself in. No parents. No babysitter. No way for anyone to check if you're okay. You pour some cereal. Turn on the TV. And you wait. By 1984, roughly 7 million kids between the ages of 5 and 13 were regularly unsupervised after school. 7 million. That's not an exception. That's a generation learning one lesson over and over, before they were old enough to fully understand it. Nobody's coming. Figure it out yourself. And that empty house rewired something. When your parents finally came home, there were no feelings-focused family meetings. No gentle conversations about what went wrong. You messed up. You paid for it. Immediately. No buffer. Psychologists call this a high-contingency environment, where actions and consequences connect directly with nothing in between. Translation. Your brain learned to think 3 steps ahead just to survive. That's not pessimism. That's pattern recognition built from necessity. But here's where it gets darker. Gen X watched their parents preach loyalty, commitment, doing the right thing. Then divorce rates exploded through the 70s and 80s. They watched their fathers give 30 years to a company and get a pink slip during the next round of layoffs. They watched Watergate unfold in real time. They watched the AIDS crisis get ignored by the people in charge until it was far too late. They watched authority figures make catastrophic decision after catastrophic decision and then act like nothing happened. The message landed hard, and it landed early. The system will betray you. People will let you down. Promises are negotiable. Psychologists call it defensive pessimism. Gen X just calls it paying attention. And then there's the irony. Because when you grow up doing nuclear fallout drills in elementary school, when teachers casually explain how to hide under a wooden desk during the thermonuclear war like that's just a normal Tuesday, something shifts. You learn to hold 2 contradictory truths at once. Everything could collapse. And also, keep moving. So you laugh. Not because it's funny. Because laughing keeps the distance. Because caring too much, in their experience, was always the thing that hurt. That's where the armor came from. And most people mistake it for coldness. It isn't. It's just someone who learned very early that hope without a backup plan is just naivety. Here's something that surprises people. Despite all of it, the neglect, the instability, the constant mixed messages, Gen X developed one of the most interesting work ethics of any generation. They just don't talk about it. No LinkedIn manifestos. No hustle culture content. They show up. They do the work. They go home. This was forged early through jobs that barely exist anymore. Paper routes at 5 in the morning. Grocery registers where you had to calculate change in your head when the system went down. These weren't resume builders. They were unfiltered introductions to real responsibility. Back when kids were actually trusted with it. And here's the paradox at the center of all of it. They will never ask you for help. They've been solving their own problems since they were 8. But if you need them, they show up. No announcement. No post about what a good person they are. They just appear and do what needs to be done. Because when your parents were absent, your friends became your family. And that kind of loyalty doesn't fade. But here's what rarely gets said. Gen X got economically destroyed. Repeatedly. The oldest graduated into a recession. The middle ones watched the dot-com bubble detonate their savings. The youngest came of age right as 2008 collapsed everything. 3 financial traumas in one lifetime. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. And it left marks. Research shows Gen Xers report significantly lower rates of seeking support during times of stress. Not because they don't have people, but because asking feels like failure. Like admitting that the self-reliance they built their entire identity around just wasn't enough. They're incredibly capable in a crisis. But they struggle to let anyone in. They carry things alone that were never meant to be carried alone. And most of them would never even admit that's happening. Here's the truth. Generation X might be the last generation that truly knows what it means to be bored. To sit alone with their thoughts. To fix something with their hands without looking up how. They're not better than anyone else. They're just different, shaped by a specific moment in history when the old world was already gone but the new one hadn't arrived yet. They're the bridge generation. And bridges don't get parades. They don't get recognition. They just hold everything together while everyone else walks across. And honestly, not needing the credit, that's the most Gen X thing of all. If this hit different for you, subscribe. There's more where this came from.